So I think it's certainly worth looking at. So I believe this is a best of 5, as it is the finals. They named it the round of 2, but it's the finals of the ESL Pro Tour Open Cup number 4 European Edition. Nailed it. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is MaNa, making it all the way through the tough European bracket. In the top left, it is Blue Terran HeRoMaRiNe. Actually, I think having a much easier time. MaNa is one of those names that, I mean, we kind of consider him as an old player, even though he's really not that old. We consider him not the best player, even though he has a couple of great runs. So it's always a little more surprising, a little more to talk about when he makes it to the finals and does really well. Even though I think that's a bit... It's kind of underappreciating him a little bit. But it is, unfortunately, a hard truth when you're kind of looking at it from the outside as someone who doesn't really watch, like, all the online cups, right? It's very unrealistic for anyone to watch all the online cups. Even Wardy doesn't watch all the online cups, and he does, like, 50% of them. But it is the truth. So for him to get through Lambo and like Rail and Sply and all the other names that appeared here, is actually pretty impressive. But he's facing a Titan here, Marine, who I think we all kind of expect him to win this one, and that's fair. We also expect him to do very well at Katowice. We're hoping, I'm at least hoping for some Terran representation in the top 4. Thank you very much, Hard Revenge, for the 35 months. 35 months. You know what, guys? I'm feeling really good today. I've been kicking ass at the gym, and although the scale isn't reflecting what I would like at this point in time, I still know I'm kicking ass. The announcement of Katowice came today. Got some other interesting things in the works. Feeling really good. It's been a good month. And after a crappy last 2 years, I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm going to go try one of these beers that was in my parents' garage during the summer. Be right back. Now, it's a beer I usually like, but who knows? Who knows now? How is your C to 5K going, by the way? Really well, actually. I've tried Couch to 5K a couple times before, and it was just excruciating. I think some of the big differences here is that... I think the only thing that really made the difference is that I'm on a treadmill. Because outside running is just harder. It's harder on your joints, it's harder in general, it's harder to pace yourself, it's harder to get flat terrain.
Resubscription received.
And doing it on a treadmill, I think, really helped because I feel like I actually could do it. When I tried, I do like the first 2 weeks, and I'd be like, this is excruciating. This is just terrible. I hate this. But I actually enjoyed it. I also changed my mindset about going to the gym and like made it just like an hour of me time. And I know that's very cliche, but it really worked. And now since I'm actually at the point where I'm running 5Ks, like every time I go on the treadmill, I just now spend that time watching anime. I'm rewatching Erase, which is a fantastic anime. Especially for people who are kind of tired of the fan servicey anime, I definitely suggest Erased. Thank you, Jay the Ninja, for the 11-month resub. Almost at that year. Congrats on getting to cast I Am Katowice. Thank you. I'm really excited. I mean, this has been the tournament besides BlizzCon, but even I think a lot of people would say that it's better than BlizzCon, and I was kind of on that boat even before this last BlizzCon, which is not that great. And it's a full like week of events, which is really going to challenge me, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to hang out with all my buddies. I've never really hung out with Mr. Bitter, but he has had nothing but nice things to say to me. And you know the best way to get someone to like you? Is to like them. So I'm looking forward to it. You ever want a Stairmaster? It's awful. I have when I was younger, but it's really bad. Like, it's bad for multiple reasons. My dad actually would do hours on the Stairmaster, and that's obviously extreme, but he had huge, big hip problems, and he blamed the Stairmaster. Well, this is the first thing that's a little bit action-y going on here. A big failure on the defense from MaNa, who I assume was paying attention, but one, didn't expect the third Widowmine, and two, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't paying attention, because, you know, usually it's pull probes, evacuate army, unless you really are sure you can take it down, and then come back. It's lost mining. It's not as clean as just killing it right off the bat, but it's the safe way to go, and he did not go the safe way. So that's the first thing that has happened, I guess, to each other. But besides that, we do have HeRoMaRiNe going for, obviously, the 1/1/1. He went for a Raven opener. He's swapping everything off against him in combat shields. MaNa was going to go into Blink Colossus and has been a little hampered in that, but that is his ultimate goal. So a very old style, honestly, of playing PvT. MaNa has, I already went over kind of his history as a player and all that. Oh, good sight in the Raven. His other, like, thing, like MaNa's thing, is also being a little off-kilter and maybe a little old-fashioned in some ways, which might add to the whole false narrative that he's an old player. He's old because he's played since he was, like, 13 or some shit. But, yeah, he can sometimes bring out some really old builds that don't really look as Legacy of the Void-ish, as refined and as fast-paced as, you know, the Extreme, which I would say is the Double Forge Twilight Council Mass Gateway. You know, that's the most Legacy of the Void thing I can think of. Although, to be fair, there was a time with Liberty where there was Mass Charge at Archon. But anyways. Things are going to get heated up soon as HeRoMaRiNe finishes up his upgrades and moves out, and getting his third on location, which most Terrans try to do. Just a little bit of a Marine drop, little tiny bit. He saw not a lot of units. There was a lot of Stalkers, which, if there's not a lot of Stalkers, it's possible like half of them were in the main base, but he might have already been alerted a little bit to what it was, just with the scout on the army. Otherwise, he doesn't have much information. But against someone who is kind of depending on their gateway units to protect their very fragile Colossus units, a drop can really be effective. The Stalkers do have blink, so they can take it down. Nice drop on that pylon. But this is already distracting MaNa enough, and then the Raven comes in. Good force fields, though, from MaNa. That actually just saved his life right there. Good thing he had 3 sentries, but now he's out of force fields, and that Raven... interference magic still going strong on that Colossus. It always derps forward. It's just really hard to not let it derp forward, and the big stim on top of everything might just be it. The Immortal tried its best, but while Marauders were all that was left over, it just was not enough. Stalkers are coming back with a third Colossus, but even if HeRoMaRiNe is cleaned up now, it is just too damn good of a trade. Killing the probes as well. That main base drop did way more than it should have, and this is actually already game. It's already game. It's brutal. It's, anti-hype, but it is absolutely game. I heard ZombieGrub's coming back. Maybe you're saying you're never going blonde again? I might have said that in jest. But... Or maybe I did say it and I just forgot. Oh, good attempt. Oh, cool. Cool. Wouldn't mind dropping on top of a smaller army. Style points. Style. But as far as I can recall, I've always been like, yeah, I'm not going to go blonde anytime soon because it's such a pain and it's expensive. But I feel like I've always been like, maybe in the future. But maybe I'm wrong. Recalled, what was it, the probes? I mean, MaNa's really trying to hang on. He is a player that certainly does that, and it's kind of a weird thing. It used to be a joke when we were casting him a lot in online tournaments that he would be at his best when he was losing. You know, it'd be like, it'd kick him in a overdrive and he'd start microing like a boss and making amazing decisions, but it just wouldn't be enough because he'd be already dead. That's not really happening here. There's not many things he could do to combat HeRoMaRiNe, who is still kind of styling on him, dropping to the high ground, low ground, keeping up the pressure. But it is something that MaNa is pretty well known for, is a little bit of the fantasy GG, or the Bly GG time, whichever you want to call it. He never even had a chance to get the charge. And he's barely holding on here, but HeRoMaRiNe's on 3 bases and just gonna add on more upgrades, Vikings. There's not really any way that MaNa can transfer away from Colossus now into an additional tech. And even if he did, HeRoMaRiNe's going to have, as I said, better upgrades. He already has. And he's going to be able not just afford Vikings, but also a Ghost Academy, a 4th CC. Like, he can afford everything, and MaNa can't afford anything. So... we could just fast forward this one, honestly. Being inside all day is legit amazing to me. I literally only go outside to like go to the gym and like go grocery shopping occasionally. Yeah, going blonde is very damaging to your hair, but I definitely am one of the more careful people about my hair. Like, I don't blow dry it. I just wait for it to air dry. I didn't bother covering my roots. I did not try to convince anyone I was a natural blonde, although some people tried to say in accusatory tones that I wasn't a real blonde. I was like, I never tried to be. So I'd let my hair color like show to like 2-3 inches, wait like 6 months between bleaches. It's overall still not great for your hair, but there are people who just like, they won't even let their roots show. They're like, nope, immediately gotta bleach it again. Immediately gotta get it fixed. Finally, the big fight that's gonna end it all. That is a big concave of bio. And the Vikings aren't even being shot down fast enough. And there finally is the GG. But it really was all determined at this mid-game point. I'm surprised Wardy wasn't in this. I guess he went to sleep. See ya, Chaos Born Serenity. By the way, the beer from the hot garage is mediocre. It definitely doesn't taste like it should. But it's not the worst thing I've ever tasted. So here's the moment when everything went wrong. Obviously, he already lost more than he should have in the drop. I think he actually lost a sentry. Yeah, sentry and 2 stalkers. Kind of a big deal. But especially the sentry. HeRoMaRiNe just sets up a drop. I mean, it's something that the observer can also... Like, you know the timing. Every Terran is doing this or a version like this. Raven or no Raven, basically the big difference. So you would know the timing of the attack, I would say. So that's not so much a surprise, but the drop in the main took away a decent number of units here. Depowered a couple of key structures, including gateways that really should have been finishing right here, right now for warp-ins. If he warped in 2 more sentries, he might have been able to hold. And then the Colossus interference makes it very difficult to micro the Colossus. You have to get it out of your hotkey, which on the fly can be a difficult thing to do. And then this Immortal is trying its best, but it's not even targeting the Marauders, actually. Not that that would have helped amazingly. But, yeah, I think not engaging to the left, letting him poke maybe the Nexus a little bit more would have been something to help him out. On a very low gateway count. Yeah, so that's good. Buy some time. The 3 gateways being depowered is brutal. And then, yeah, I mean, HeRoMaRiNe is going to pounce on this no matter what, but maybe he shouldn't even just gone to the left. The depowering of the gateways was just, I think, the most hurtful thing. Oh my god, I am Caster. That's me. That's me. I suspect I understand English. You're talking about Russian and Ukrainian players? When? What? Huh? Still a best of 5 with plenty of games to go. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it's MaNa. And in the top left, the blue Terran, it is HeRoMaRiNe. If you manage perfect force, let's get a saved one for the bottom too. That's a lot to ask for. For the situation, those are about as perfect as you would expect. So no more good Ukrainian players? That's not true. I mean, I know people. It's kind of like it's kind of a thing to rag on Bly, but Bly is someone that I think is still scary enough in an open bracket and still is very passionate about the game, and he plays in tons of shit. And he's, you know, over the last 3 years, so he had a pretty good start in Legacy of the Void, because that's a type of player that would do well when a brand new patch comes out, like a very huge patch, or, you know, just straight up a big expansion comes out. It would make sense that he would do well. He did well. He dropped off. Things kind of settled. But he would have spikes every now and again. Like, I don't want to ever count Bly out, but I think he is the best Ukrainian player. And then you have some Russian players that are up and coming, although I can't name their names right now because I'm afraid I'm going to get them wrong, but I would look it up. See. Well, there's not much going on. Let's actually look up Wikipedia. Katowice bracket. 2020. There we go. I was like, which one is this? I don't know. Looks like they're not using the numbers anymore for it. It's a different system. Interesting to know. Dep pops out. Deal with the Reaper. Nothing there. Twilight Council opening once again. We'll see if MaNa does the exact same opener or not. I'm looking for the open bracket. Do I have a link to the open bracket? Oh, hey, they went across the map and did something. That's a little bold because it must have done it pretty quickly. But the Reaper was not trying to go back in for any other extra probe kills, and it's far more annoying for this to happen. Soccer will eventually take care of the Reaper as long as you're paying attention, but it is going to be a tit-for-tat scenario. There we go. Oh, because I'm... Alright, yeah, that was my bad. Offline qualifier is exactly what I was looking for. Braddock's okay. He's also kind of old school. Not the guy I was thinking of. Looks like Gung Fu has dropped out, Time dropped out, Ender dropped out. Ah, Skilless is who I was thinking of. So one of the names. He's doing pretty well. It is going to be Blink and Robo. So, with one extra gateway, yeah, it looks to be like his build last game. Did you only take one gas last game? Is that all you need? Interesting. Skilless, yeah. Yeah. There's still a lot of good Russian players, actually. Although, I guess you're right, Ukraine, I'm trying to think of more Ukrainian names, and I'm struggling. Anyways, so third Nexus, so this is not going to be the Colossus thing again. So, yeah. With the, I mean, with 2 gateways, this is playing greedy. Like, you can't warp in Stalkers to go pressure, should you think that's a good option. And if it was something more aggressive than just a Widow Mine drop, you'd also struggle to defend with 1 less unit each round. But assuming it is just a normal game, and it's HeRoMaRiNe, so it's likely to be, and you also know it wasn't anything like off of 1 base. And there's... HeRoMaRiNe doesn't seem to be the type of guy who's really pushing out with 2 base tank pushes or cyclone pushes, so this actually is probably a very safe thing for MaNa to do. 2 gateways, Robo, double forge, not single forge. It's the greatest version of this that I think you could possibly do. Maybe you could do like a 1 gateway, but that would be insane. And it's going to pay off for him, it looks like. Now adding on a couple more gateways, going to be chronoing out that 1-1. And just adding a lot of gateway army to this. Has HeRoMaRiNe figured this out? He's gotten to the main base. He's seen 2 gases, Robo Twilight Council, 3rd gas down here. And he saw the timing of the 3rd Nexus, so he does know what type of game this is going to be. Really liking HeRoMaRiNe's, MaNa's placement of probes and pylons. Observer maybe could go over to the left a little bit more. HeRoMaRiNe's Reaper is still sharking around, looking for any opportunity to get a probe or just really keep tabs on what the army looks like. Is this a surprise, like, quick robotics bay? Because he didn't see the double forge. And I guess there are builds that are quick thirds that still go for Robo and Colossus. They're pretty greedy, though, and yeah, even more susceptible to dying to a good push like this from HeRoMaRiNe. This is not with a Raven, so a bit different from the last game's push. It is hitting pretty well timed. The gateways are just finishing right now. We have one Guardian Shield and maybe a Force Field as well, but that's about it. That's all you can really afford here. MaNa did bother pushing out an Immortal, and that could help a lot. So the Widowmines are going to be critical here. Are they going to get good shots or not? Charge just finishes. Take out one Widowmine. Another one's going to top pop a Stalker, but that was not a good enough initial fight. The Zealot count not strong enough to actually take it. MaNa probably should have just waited a little while longer for more warp-ins, bought some more time, and his Stalkers also weren't out aggressively poking and prodding and buying time. So he just collapses once again to HeRoMaRiNe's clear-cut builds, pretty much perfectly macroed. And that wouldn't be anything to laugh at if this was not a pro gamer who's contending in the finals. Otherwise, this is not a great sign for MaNa going into PvT in the future, because this is all pretty basic stuff. I could go back and see if HeRoMaRiNe did anything special, but I really don't think he did. The only thing a little bit special is that he's, like, adding a third Widowmine. But even then, that's not that special. Thank you, Xana Blink, for the 14-month resub. I cast and comment replays of low MMR cheese games sometimes. I do subscriber replays, but I don't just pick random replays and do it. Are there any British pros? Yeah. Razorblader is English, right? And Risky. Although Risky is also has New Zealand citizenship, so whatever that means. Oh, and a Muslim. Yeah, I think I got him as a player. He's certainly good. Hellraiser is Ukraine. Is from Ukraine. Okay, alright. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's doing pretty well. There you go. Tossing's Reavers. I don't know about that. This is a absolutely holdable scenario for most Protoss, but the trick is we're going to try and find out why this wasn't a holdable scenario for MaNa. So he's finishing up here with 2 plus 5 gateways. That's actually only 7 gateways, which I would say is usually not enough. When Zest does this, it's upwards to 10 gateways, if not a little bit more. And he does do both a double forge and single forge. Again, I don't see anything weird coming out from HeRoMaRiNe to make this any more special. It's even at the upgrade. It's all timed out fine. The upgrades aren't also being chrono boosted, it looks like, so there's just maybe a mechanical problem there. You think the chrono boost could go into something? Gateways, forges, another immortal maybe? Alright, now he's chronoing them, but I think that was a missed opportunity. Not that they would have been done. I think the biggest thing is that he takes the fight thinking that it'll go well. Before charge is done, before any upgrades are done, and he's, yeah, as I said, he didn't get any pressure with the Stalkers. His Stalker count is not that high anyways to really do a lot of pressure, but he even tried to poke and buy more time. Because if you can buy at least 10 seconds, then at least charge is done, right? And maybe another warp in as well. So he comes in, and it doesn't matter if Widowmine gets a good shot or not, because the Zealots just get evaporated anyways. He needs a lot more Zealots so that they can actually die, and yet have half of their buddies still connect, you know? So just missing the macro, I'd say. And now you can see him, you know, banking a lot of minerals. But, yeah. It's not like he took damage from the Widowmine drop either. Maybe he could have chronoed his probes more? You get saturated in 2 bases pretty quickly, and then you have to wait for the 3rd base to finish. The 2 gateways thing is still, like, it's still questionable to me, but is that what really killed him? I don't know about that. Yeah, killing 2 probes is, you know, fine, it's whatever. Not killing the medevac is fine, it's whatever, it doesn't matter. Maybe he's a little late in his forges because of that. Maybe a little late to building probe production again. He's got to transfer probes. Again, his chrono boost not necessarily being used. Okay, now he's in charge. But still a lot of chrono boost here. Banking up for the upgrades, I assume. Yeah. So that's not a problem so much, but he still has more chrono. I mean, it's slight things that add up, but this just feels like a game where he just wasn't macroing to the best of his ability. And when the other guy is macroing pretty perfectly and is almost guaranteed a push around 630, that's just how TDP goes, then your macro in the early game slipping a little bit here and there does add up. Or maybe you could argue, and I don't mean to put this in a, I don't mean this as a PvZ is easier thing, but you might be able to argue that in a PvZ, it's a little less important because the Zerg player is often just also saying, oh, thank God, we're macroing. And you can kind of make up for those differences as time goes on. Not a strong start here in this best of 5. The top right down 2, it is MaNa on Eternal Empire. In the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, he is HeRoMaRiNe. And he has not gotten a complete win streak of the EPLs, but I think he's won 3 out of 4 now. He pulled back for Sim Bio. It's not an issue of pulling back. I meant that he shouldn't have engaged at all. He should have actually let his Nexus once again take damage because he should have realized he wasn't going to win the fight. They're both not ideal. He's already in a crappy spot, to be clear, just like that first game. But that's the type of risk you have to take. And I would think you would also want the Stalkers to be out in the map, even if it's only 5 Stalkers, just so they can try and do something. Nibbled to death by ducks. Oh, what language saying is that? I've never heard that before, but yes. Yes. One sentry in the fight could have created opportunity. I don't think so. No. I mean, a Guardian Shield was only so helpful. The point is, all of his units that were left after the Zealots evaporated were going to be killed anyways. And then, if you're talking about force fielding 2, so the army gets sliced in half and the half that gets pushed to the Zealots, again, there just wasn't a high enough Zealot count for that to matter. They were getting evaporated anyways. So I'm gonna chalk this series up to MaNa not playing the best. These are actually really well-timed tournaments, though, so I'm not gonna make an excuse and say he's tired. Although they are pretty long tournaments for Europe. I think it's 5 to 6 hours if you're gonna make it all the way to the finals. So in that way, it is a tiring tournament. But it starts at 1 p.m. their time, I want to say. It's 8 a.m. my time, so maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. But anyways, totally with enough time. You're not falling asleep at the keyboard. But it's just these little things, and certainly something that I think MaNa you can say MaNa has been criticized in the past for. He's not like Haas I think we all know what Haas is like. But in a similar vein, there's some aggression, there's some good decisions, there's some good builds, but the actual mechanics just aren't there 100% of the time. Whereas for many other pro gamers, it's absolutely my mechanics first, then I work on how my tournament or skills go, my changing of builds and mind games and all that type of stuff. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe could have gotten us around if he had pulled more probes there, but misses the opportunity. So loses a probe, might lose 2. Nope, misfire from the Reaper means that it dies. HeRoMaRiNe still got what he wanted, though, which was a scout in the Stargate. So MaNa once again going to change things up. He went 2-base Robo, Colossus, then he went for the 3-base double upgrades. Now going to try and do some Stargate stuff. We'll pay attention to how many Oracles come out of the Stargate, as well as how many Adepts come out of the Gateway. If he wants to do any of that pressure. But a lot of Terrans are they're forcing themselves to be fine with the bunker. And if you have a bunker, excuse me, I'm sorry. That's the warm beer talking. If you have a bunker, it seems like it's already not going to do enough. Because even if they go to the main, their Adepts aren't getting the main, right? And you just pull away from 2 Oracles, it's still not that bad. And then HeRoMaRiNe is even going to go ahead and build a Cyclone and a Viking, which are excellent defense units against the Stargate opener. They're also pretty good at attacking. You can do an attack off of this. Pull 3 or 4 SCVs. And it's hard for the Protoss to defend, especially if they're going to go into a fast third behind this, which he is not. Or just mismanage their macro. So for MaNa, he is not going to a quick third. Double gassing in the natural, getting up more gateways, getting blink right now. The Oracle should see this attack incoming. He's not going to pull any SCVs. As I said, you can pull 3 or 4. But just going for the attack with the units, That means that his main is open. And the Oracle could try and get some damage done, but a pull against an Oracle now is just so effective for the Terran. That's fine. Something that HeRoMaRiNe must have been aware could happen. So he's going to lose 3 SCVs. Now the Oracle's not going to be able to help out on the other side of the map. The Cyclone immediately going down, though, is not a great start. A 1-for-1 trade there with the Stalker, though, maybe makes it a little more worthwhile. Where are the rest of the Warp-ins here? MaNa about to be a little bit supply blocked. His Pylon is finishing as his shield battery finishes. But a couple more Stalkers would make this a little bit more convincing. Maybe he only loses 1 Stalker instead of 2. Oh, good target on the Pylon. Good target on the Pylon. It's going to take a lot of the shield battery's energy to save that. It will eventually go down. That is a very, very small annoyance, though, but yet another Stalker goes down. And HeRoMaRiNe did not pull any SCVs for this. He only lost 3 to the Oracle behind it. And that seemed worthwhile enough. Check the resources lost. Only slightly in favor of MaNa, actually. It's actually US saying. I've never heard that before. Back from my journey. No more on Discord, Twitter, TG ever say she wouldn't go back to Blonde. It was in 2019 on Discord. She was like, Blonde is here to stay. I wasn't Blonde in 2019, though. So I don't know what that was about. I stopped being Blonde in like November 2017, I think. I was brunette for Leipzig. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's very possible I said it on stream, which is much harder to discover. A couple of multi-pronged harassment with just with the leftover units. HeRoMaRiNe, I think, was hoping there'd be more of a push, so he had a lot of units like rallying across the map here, but just didn't end up happening. So he uses them to try and get some damage done, as well as a little bit of scouting. Gets 3 probes worth, not the biggest of deals. Sees not too much. Doesn't even see the 3rd Nexus. Just a forge. Misses the Templar Archives. You know, one of the... Either the follow-up is a lot of gateway units, or Colossus, it feels like. To immediately swap into Storm is kind of this really funny thing, where because Storm as a follow-up to mostly gateway-based armies is so obvious, Protoss are like, we can't do it anymore. Because the first thing that Terrans throw down on 3CC is a Ghost Academy, whether it's Storms or not, because Ghosts are really good. So it's almost like a mind game thing to actually go in a Storm. You don't think I will, but I actually am. I don't know if it's actually going to play out that well, of course, but the other reason why you don't necessarily want to go into a direct Storm is that it's surprisingly not reliable in the professional leagues. Us chumps on ladder, it's super reliable. We're always going to get hit by 1 and mess up. Against a guy like HeRoMaRiNe, he's going to be standing Marauders forward. He's going to be dropping, so the Storms are less effective, and it's a lot more multitasking. He's going to be taking concave fights. Like, it's going to look very different. And you need something... The Storms are kind of cohesive most of the time in these pro games. You know, you need a lot of backing to the Storms as well, something to actually get the final blow. Because otherwise the units won't actually die. They'll be racing in and out of the Storms. So it's kind of one of those things where it's not very reliable. It's almost like going to Disruptors sometimes. They're almost equally reliable when properly controlled against, which isn't an always guaranteed thing just because HeRoMaRiNe is usually really good. But if it happens, I feel so validated. I'll feel so smart. Just a little bit of a tank defense here at the 3rd base against any potential run-bys. Not that MaNa's really been doing any. He's been dying to a lot of the first pushes, so there's not been much time. Pretty quick 4th base on the way, but makes sense for the style he's doing. He is going into double forge now, but will only have that 1-1 as the fight continues. Initiates. This is not the entire army off to the left side. HeRoMaRiNe actually going for an attack to the right side. Now sees the High Templars. Border Mines don't do too much, and a good pullback there from MaNa. Means that HeRoMaRiNe also has to pull back, but this is actually where it's at. The Archon's even getting a little bit stuck there, but the shield battery really helping out. They're going to need a little bit more support to actually take on the army, though. Upgrades are even, and individual Archons are easy enough to target down. Although you can see the splash really taking effect And in from behind, maybe? No, not going to go for it. Thought about it, but then decided not to. Not going to be able to grab those medevacs, and then has to reposition himself. MaNa, I mean, defending okay, but now here comes the problem with the multitasking, right? And then look at the splits. 2 Storms basically doing nothing, and 3 High Templars left all alone. Marauders come forward. They take a few Storms to actually die here. They need some Immortal or Charge Lots to come up behind them and actually kill them to make it more effective. That was a beautiful Storm on top of most of the Marines. The medevacs get back to healing. These are going to just race back and go into a concave, and here comes more of the units from the right side. They were going to go for a counter or run by, whatever you want to call it. Then they decided to get a surround, and that's going to work out beautifully against the army, and I feel so validated right now. So validated. It's very difficult, especially covering 4 bases, not even just 3. Covering 4 bases with a low supply of units, because you put a lot of investment into the storms. I think MaNa also had a lot of units maybe guarding against drops that could have happened to the north side that he finally brings forward, so it looks a little more convincing, but he's already lost all of his High Templars. And that's a pretty big loss of gas. The supply not looking too good. He does get a couple of Zealots. No, actually a Storm drop. That's always cool. Into the 3rd base. Looks like the tank moved or died to something. So 9 SCVs go down, and more could follow if the warp-ins were there, but he's not able to warp in offensively because he's still warping in defensively. The Stalker's trying desperately to take on this entire army. The tank did move. It moved offensively. It's going to anchor this push on the 4th base and absolutely destroy it. But even without the tank, it looked like he was going to do good enough. His army's getting a little bit low. The medevac's getting a little bit clumped against the Archons. But there's just not much left here for MaNa. Even as his upgrade advantage kicked in, it just wasn't enough units. And now HeRoMaRiNe's going to take his own upgrade advantage with 2-2 finishing. 4th base dies, and HeRoMaRiNe's going to continue the pressure. He does have a Ghost Academy, but not even adding on Ghosts. They don't even need them. Don't even matter. I'll forever be blonde. Oh, that's because of the talent announcements. That's a joke I always make whenever they announce. Because they always use my blonde's profile picture. Well, this game played out almost exactly like I anticipated. I mean, there's definitely points where a better Storm or a couple more charge lots or even Stalkers getting some better target fire opportunities. Like, there's times where this absolutely could have been a hold, and it's not as drastic. It's not just an easy 3-0 here for HeRoMaRiNe. But on the flip side, this is the exact type of game that can happen when you race up to something that's a little unreliable. Colossus being the most reliable, if also the most boring unit, come out, and that's going to be very helpful. But they're still up against a lot of Marauders, and they don't cut through them that quickly, so the Warpers and Micros got to be king here. And so far it's pretty good, but that tank is going to stop it from ever really pushing in and cleaning this entire mess up, because they can't tackle the tank. They can't handle the tank. And HeRoMaRiNe's still expanding, still getting upgrades, even getting an armor upgrade, as opposed to like a ship weapons upgrade, which you usually expect. 4th base to the left side's a bit bold. Sometimes it can happen. It gets up and running, and you know, also you can push this back, and then it's really good to have that 4th base already on the way, but that wasn't even a cancel. That was a kill. MaNa desperately starts 3-3 to try and have some advantage in this game, but it's not even going to be that big of an advantage. HeRoMaRiNe will at least have his +3 attack. The game is not over. It kind of actually is. Ghost now on the way, Vikings on the way, HeRoMaRiNe just dedicating all of his power to the front lines, attacking, constant aggression. As I said, did not really bother with building Ghosts. Now he can complete his army. Now he can perfect his army, get maxed out, and go for a humongous push on that 4th base. And there's nothing that MaNa can do. Even if he had great Storms and 4 Colossus, there'd still be too much bio. Colossus boring. I feel personally attacked. Come on, they're pretty boring. They look cool. I mean, they look cool until I just think of anyone, like, doing the Star Wars thing to them, right? Like, wrapping leg or wire around their legs. I can't even imagine how they traverse sand, to be honest. It feels like they should not work on sand-based maps. Here's the final attack. Pretty desperate attack from MaNa, hoping that HeRoMaRiNe maybe just didn't have the macro behind it, but of course HeRoMaRiNe did. Big old concave, and he was even losing all of his probes back at home. GG. Not the most amazing best of 5 right there, but a neat little insight as to where the two players are. This was played out last week, so still pretty close to IEM.